The craziest part of ascension is that our thoughts create our entire realities. It doesn't just like heal your body. You know, like how Joe Dispenza is he's definitely on the ascension path. You know what I'm saying? Spiritual people in general are on the ascension path. But his whole work is about how you can like heal your body with your mind. I mean, he's like way into farther timelines. He's so right. Like he understands that like our consciousness is in the quantum field where our bodies are in the 3D reality. You know what I'm saying? But our souls and our consciousness are in a quantum realm. And so you can heal your 3D body by using the quantum realm, which is thoughts. Also, the other crazy thing about this whole entire ascension path, not only is it that it doesn't just heal our bodies, it creates our entire reality in front of us. It creates our entire reality. But we live in a consensus matrix. And so that's why our realities look the way they do, because we're all consenting to the same reality. So it's like crazy that ascension like takes it a step further. It's like, it's not just your body that you can heal. It's like you could heal your entire environment. And that's how, because I get visions of, you know, New Earth and stuff, and it's all about teleporting and telekinesis and probably other stuff I don't even know about. You know what I'm saying? But that's how we're going to do it, is by our thoughts. But we have to get to like a majority consensus frequency, and that's why open contact is happening, because it's gonna cause the consensus matrix to then tip into New Earth. That's what it's gonna be doing, because so many people are gonna be like, wow, there's something outside of us. And then what does that lead to? Well, if there's something outside of us, how did this happen? And then it leads to like the Matrix and how it all was started. And then you start to think about the Matrix and you're like, well, why did the Matrix like do things the way it did? And then you realize that the Matrix did things the way it did to prevent you from believing in your own power and in your own self and in your own mind, and the fact that you can create your reality with just your mind and just your thoughts. And also I had, you know, I don't know how this is also how I know this is real, because I'm like, I suck at math and science and shit. Like I got like C's and D's in any type of math or any type of physics or chemistry. Physics was like, I couldn't fucking understand it, but now I'm like talking about quantum fields. I'm like, do you know what I'm saying? Like that's how I know this shit's real, because I don't know that knowledge. I don't have that knowledge outside of me. And I haven't heard somebody talk about this either. So it's like, it's clearly coming through psychic downloads. And that's what really anchors me into the fact that I'm not crazy and that this shit is real, because there's no fucking possible way I could know this shit. My brain doesn't work that, but apparently it does. It was never in the 3D that my brain worked in and had hyperfixations on. Like my autistic hyperfixation, I never really had one in the 3D reality, but that's because they're like, well, you gotta wait till we start getting to 5D, because now that's like my autistic hyperfixation is ascension and like deprogramming the matrix and like all that stuff. It's like all I think about, it consumes my thoughts and everything every day now. And I'm just like, this is confirmation burps. I'm like, oh my God. Well, my life is starting to make more and more sense as I ascend too, which is the other crazy part of it. Like, how does my life make way more sense now than it ever did? And it's like, most people would probably think I'm like off my rocker. Not you guys, obviously, but like if I ever try to start talking about this shit with like, you know, anybody that's like not on this path, you sound like a quacko. Like you sound like so weird, but it's also like, this is like, it's just because everybody's at different levels of awakening and stuff. But I just think it's so funny, because it's like, I'm having such a different, like I'm living in the same reality as so many people, but I'm having such a different experience. And that's how awakening works. It's like you awaken into New Earth in your own reality first, and then New Earth awakens around us as the consensus matrix starts to gear that way. So that's why it's like your individual choices are absolutely contributing to the collective whole. and the collective ascension. And it's all based on what you want to choose your reality is, you know? And it's like, also, the reality we were living in sucked anyway. So it's like, don't you think? Like, why wouldn't you go down this route? You know what I'm saying? It's like, why wouldn't you go down? Well, because, you know, it's not that people need proof either. It's that our brains are wired for proof. You know, I was going to say people need proof in order to, like, because obviously right now we can't really, like, prove it in, like, a big major way, except for, like, our own little mini consensus matrix. We have, like, a mini consensus matrix within the ascension and spiritual communities. So yeah, we get some crazy downloads these last few days. Since the solstice and the Jupiter and Kismisme or whatever the fuck it's called. That's also the other thing. I don't know shit about spirituality. I just know my little niche in my little corner of the world. My brain can never stick with astrology. I don't even know what my 3 signs are because I forget them all the time. Like, I know I'm a Virgo ascending, but that's like all I know. I think my moon is Libra, but I don't remember the other one, and I also am not 100% sure. So it's like, everybody has their own niche in this ascension process too, of like what your brain, the codes it carries, as far as like, some people have like the astrology code, some people have like healing codes, some people have quantum physics codes, you know, stuff like that. Mine is rewiring your brain from the matrix. 100% that is my codes. So that's the other cool things as we ascend collectively as well, and individually, and that's how we do it collectively. We're gonna see what everybody's like codes are. You know, it's gonna become more and more clear. Also, another thing I realized is that my spiritual awakening, there's 2 parts to this situation too. I had a spiritual awakening first, which was in 2020, and that's when I started with the crystals and the tarot and, you know, all that stuff, and getting into like conspiracy documentaries and all that stuff. 2020. 2025 is when I had my psychic awakening. So as you go along the spiritual awakening path, you will eventually have a psychic awakening. Now, I know a lot of my collective has had their psychic awakenings, but yeah, it's kind of crazy, honestly. Or maybe you haven't quite reached your psychic awakening yet, but you will. You will. That's part of the spiritual path, which is crazy because we're all psychics. So it's like, as you go along, you know. And I've had, my psychic awakening didn't happen until January of this year. I had like a little bit, but I didn't, you know, like I didn't consciously realize I was like getting psychic downloads. Like it starts to trickle in a little bit right before it. That's also a sign. If you're starting to get like channels like little by little and stuff, then eventually you're going to start really channeling at some point. Or you already are like channeling, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're able to like call in loved ones or, you know, communicate with deities and stuff, then you're already, you know, at a decent psychic awakening. Or if you're communicating with your guides psychically, you're also at one. But like for me, it was like I was getting these like voices in my head, but I was dismissing them. You know, I was like, I don't know. I was getting like channels about stuff. I didn't realize I was getting channels. It wasn't until I came to conscious awareness of my psychic awakening until January of this year. And I did start getting clairaudience with my spiritual awakening as well. I would get like random songs and stuff, but it's like really like intensified as I've gone along. And it's as I've healed. It's like literally coincides with breaking karmic cycles and healing myself and rewiring my brain from the matrix. It like intensifies. So I feel like that's gonna be like a lot of people's same experiences.